Is he going to stay or is he going to go? The latest in the developing Tony Vitello story, Tennessee or the Giants.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Wednesday morning Locked On Vols, and I am your host, Cain. So happy to have you guys along for the ride here this Wednesday morning. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at Game Time, where you can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Again, shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Here on today's show, the latest that we know of right now and the developing story for Tony Vitello, Tennessee's baseball coach, of course, being heavily courted, pursued by the San Francisco Giants. We'll talk about that here to open things up. Quarterback battle, we'll dive into the numbers, Pro Football Focus, intricacies and stats that matter between Cutter Boley and Joey Aguilar, Tennessee versus Kentucky this week. And then we'll talk to Josh Ward for Ward Wednesday coming up in segment number 3. All right, so let's kick things off with what we know right now, or at least at the time of this recording. Again, I mentioned this, I think there was a question on the mailbag show yesterday, and it's always tough to address something like this because simply these stories are developing, and what could be factually correct at this time, an hour later might change. It's kind of like recruiting, right? Things moving a million miles an hour, and so it's kind of like head on a swivel and all that. And if you're trying to cover this for your job, it can be absolutely taxing. So I'm not avoiding this on the show. It's just, you guys know, I record this, the night, evening-ish before, and then I schedule it, and I schedule it for midnight, so I try to get it out as early as I can the next day, but sometimes things can kind of be lost. But to pull things behind the curtain a little bit, segments 2 and 3 I recorded Tuesday morning before I spent all day over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Not complaining, it's my job. And this segment that I'm recording, I left it open because I thought there'd be some definitive news at some point on Tuesday. At the time of this recording, which is 10:32 p.m. Eastern Time, there's no definitive news. So this is kind of what I know at the time of this recording. I was at Lindsey Nelson Stadium all day today. I was at Lindsey Nelson Stadium all day on Monday. Tony Vitello Watch 2025 is kind of what we're phrasing it. And it was a very unique and interesting day at the old ball yard. Obviously, you guys know, well aware of this, even if you don't follow Tennessee baseball or the big-time Tennessee baseball fan or anything, you know by now that Tony Vitello is being courted. Tony Vitello is being pursued. He is the number one option for the San Francisco Giants, the professional baseball team in San Francisco, obviously. Talked about this before. Sure you know it, but Cliff versions, if this deal were to go through, this would be unprecedented. Tony Vitello would be a trailblazer in terms of never having coached in professional baseball, never having played in professional baseball. Not just, I say professional baseball, that's all encompassing. That's minor leagues, that's the big leagues, that's Major League Baseball, all that and more. So this would be historic. No sitting college coach with none of that prior experience has ever made the jump. And there's only 30 jobs. It's one of 30. And San Francisco is a great organization. 8-time World Series champions. Buster Posey, who was, the captain and, Hall of Fame type guy for that organization, is now calling the shots as director of baseball operations or president of baseball operations, whatever they call it there. And so what an opportunity for Tony Vitello. And the ball's been in his court for, a couple of days now. In following this to the best of your abilities and making phone calls and tracking this thing and putting in the work, it's been all over the map, man. This has been a thing for a couple of weeks, but it kind of died down for the last couple of weeks because you kept on getting notified that, hey, the Giants are interviewing this guy, they're interviewing this guy, they're interviewing this guy. Not only were they not formally interviewing Tony Vitello, that does not mean that they didn't speak or whatever. They kind of had a type. They were interviewing former catchers. And what was Buster Posey? He was a catcher and a really good one. So it was kind of like, all right, well, you were interviewing Nick Hundley, who I think was the front runner for San Francisco. And, last week he ultimately took his name out of the hat. And that's when I think these conversations into negotiations really started heating up was last week with San Francisco kind of coming back around, I guess, to Tony Vitello. But also they interviewed Nick Hundley. They interviewed Stephen Vogt. They interviewed Kurt Suzuki, who was just named Angels manager yesterday, former Brave. So congratulations to Kurt. That's awesome. But then you get to Saturday, and you have the Ken Rosenthal bomb and Jeff Passan, and they're all coming out there and saying, hey, the Giants have singled out Tony Vitello. He is their guy. They are nearing a deal. They are nearing a deal to make Tony Vitello, their next manager. And when there's a report out there like that, phrase like that by those big dogs in terms of covering Major League Baseball, they're the best of the best. You think that it's at the 1 yard line, right? And so honestly, making some calls, talking and everything. I mean, that news hit when I was in Tuscaloosa. I was checking the hotel in Birmingham, and I kind of gave some backstory on this yesterday. Honestly, the rate things were going on Saturday, I thought it was going to be a done deal by the time I got back from Tuscaloosa. I did. I honestly did. But then you went through all day Sunday and nothing definitive. You went through Monday, nothing definitive. I thought for sure it was going to happen on Tuesday, one way or the other. Nothing definitive here, at least at the time of this recording. It's interesting, man. It is very interesting. I think, I'll get to the day at the park here in just a moment. I do think the last I heard this evening, after the scrimmage and everything, I think he was still undecided, based on people that I spoke with. When I got that intel, maybe an hour later it changed. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Again, this is a developing story. But I think Tony Vitello, the ball's been in his court, and I think he's torn. I think he's got to make a decision. I mean, on one hand, history maker, to be a baseball nut and a baseball savant and everything like that for a guy who just loves ball, it seems like a no-brainer. It's also a huge lifestyle change, massive lifestyle change. There's also, of course, money to consider in this. Because, living in San Francisco, it's a bit more expensive than living in Knoxville, Tennessee. Also, you got to consider about the kids you brought on campus, your current teammates, your recruits. You got to think about what you built here at Tennessee, the legacy, the people here at East Tennessee, the fans of Tennessee. There's so many different things to consider. I don't envy his decision. But I think he's kind of torn, and I think that he's deciphering all these different layers of the decision that's going into it. So, again, I think it's, depending on who you talk to, I said a lot on Tuesday. I was like, I probably heard from 30 people today, 15 people saying he's gone, 15 people saying he's staying. Everybody, becomes an insider, and I heard this from this person, I heard this. I mean, it's just wild, man. And somebody was like, this is like groomers, or this is worse than groomers, or this is comparable to groomers. I don't know. I didn't cover groomers, so I can't speak on that. This is a wild ride, that is for sure. So, but being at the ballpark, we're on Vitello watch. So what that entails is we try to know where he is. If you're on campus, that means he's, at least right now, he's still Tennessee's coach. And so if he's coaching practice, he's still Tennessee's coach. And so go over there early, see if he's on campus, kind of wait around, look for things like body language, stuff like that. That's what we were doing. And then they start practicing. And, the media relations department, the SIDs over at Tennessee, they start catching wind like fans are. I mean, obviously, this is a huge story, right? And fans want to come out and see and show support. And so, normally these scrimmages are kind of open. They don't publicize them, but they're kind of open to whoever wants to come in. The stadium's all obviously under renovations right now. So the porches were open. I mean, there was at least 100 people there on the porches, man, all three levels, maybe more than that. I mean, I wouldn't say it was jam-packed or anything, but there was a great turnout. And they were clapping, and they were, chanting, "We want Tony." And, a couple of different occasions, Tony Vitello, when they were chanting, "We want Tony," he turned around and waved. And then one time between innings, he, wrote on a baseball. I think he said, "Much love, go Vols," or something. Threw it into the porches. And at the end of the day, when the scrimmage was over, he came out there and he said, "Hey, thank y'all. We got meetings." And I think he said, "Love y'all" at the end. But he was appreciative. He thanked them. I think it meant a lot to him. I do. I mean, it was a cool scene. It was interesting. I mean, when I drove on campus Tuesday morning, there was a guy, Tristan is his name. I stopped and talked to him, took his picture, put it on social media. I asked him if it was okay. And he's holding the sign, for showing his support for Tony Vitello. And I drove on campus and I saw that. And then I go to these fall scrimmages because it's my job. I need to keep up and give updates to you guys and to, the members of VolQuest.com, what's going on with the Tennessee baseball program in fall. I go, Mike Wilson goes, Ben McKee goes, Ryan Shumpert go. We go pretty routinely. Kayla Jarrah has been there a couple of times the last couple of days. It's like 3 or 4 of us. And then it's never 103 or 104 of us. And that's kind of what it was the other day. So it was unique, man. Again, ask me what I think, gut feeling on this whole thing. Does he stay or does he go? I mean, it changes because depending on the intel you get, it's been all over the map. I think that it would be hard to turn down. That's just me. I think it would be extremely hard to turn down, but obviously Tony Vitello is weighing each side of this, and he's weighing the pros, the cons, and all that. And I think that, the kids he brought to campus, that means something. The kids that are in these committed classes and, signing days in 2 weeks. And I think all that means stuff to him. I think that means a lot to him. So I'll be interested to see exactly when this all hits some finality, when this is done, whether Tony stays or if he goes. And then what's next for Tennessee baseball? Who's the interim coach? Are they going to promote Josh Elan? Are they going to open up for a national search? There's many different layers to this. And I thought we'd at least be to the second layer now, or to the finality of it, to Tony staying. I thought we'd have a decision one way or the other right now, but right now we don't. It'll be interesting. Head on a swivel. That's what I've been saying all week long, and all I can tell you is do our best to update you every single step of the way. So interesting stuff, fun times. It was a strange day at not Neyland Stadium, at Lindsey Nelson Stadium on Tuesday, but it was kind of cool. I mean, I'll leave with this before we hit the reset. It's 2:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, October the 21st, and there's at least 100 people in the porches showing their support for Tennessee baseball and showing their support for Tony Vitello. It was pretty unique. It was pretty special. There was a banner, there's a frat house, behind the stadium. You can kind of see it within the construction and all that, and they had a big banner, saying they don't leave Tony, don't leave Tony. It was cool stuff. It's been interesting. So. Anyway, that's kind of what I got right now. Again, I'm recording this first segment at least. The other two segments I recorded earlier in the day, behind the curtain, learning about the production of Locked On Vols. That's not how we do it every day, but time of this recording, about 10:41 Eastern time right now. I could hit close, and at 10:45, things could change. Moves a mile a minute. So we will see what happens. I'll do my best to keep you updated every single step of the way. Cutter Boley versus Joey Aguilar. Let's take a look at the quarterback matchup for this weekend, Tennessee versus Kentucky, right here on Locked On Vols. Mazda craft cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August of this past year. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available nappy leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, where you can move and you can be moved. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and ways to move with your cross-training with instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how Peloton HQ systems offer real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen is a game changer as well. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to a strength training workout without missing a beat. So let yourself run, lift, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Thread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, guys, it's Tennessee and Kentucky this weekend at Kroger Field. 7:45 Eastern time is the kick on the SEC Network, and Tennessee's going to have this game, obviously. Tennessee coming off a tough loss at Alabama on the road, third Saturday in October, falling to 5-2 on the year and 2-2 in SEC play. And as we kind of broke down on yesterday's show, in terms of college football playoff chances, you really need to win out, and that's easier said than done, but you know what you need to do. And, we can scoreboard watch along the way, but a 10-2 team from the Southeastern Conference, I'm not going to say it's a guaranteed shoe-in, but you are in very, very good position, again, if you are 10-2 by the end of the season from this conference. And you will have wins over at least one ranked opponent, and we'll see about two along the way. But for that to happen, Tennessee's got to take down Kentucky. The old coaching talk, right? Can't go 10-2 unless you go 6-2 first. And that's what Tennessee's got to focus on this week against Kentucky. And As we do each and every week, let's break down the quarterback matchup in this showdown. Tennessee's Joey Aguilar, of course, we're very familiar with him and his stats this year and all that and more. Get to that here in a moment, but it's been Cutter Boley, the redshirt freshman, who's kind of taken the reins for Kentucky really since midway through the second game of the season against Ole Miss. You had Zach Calzada, the journeyman quarterback that was a transfer from Incarnate Word, from Texas A&M, from Auburn, and now he's at Kentucky. He's on his third Southeastern Conference team, his fourth team overall, and he was brought in to be the starter for Kentucky this year, and he injured, I believe it was a shoulder in game number 2, so he missed a few weeks, and I went back to double check, but he did not appear on the injury report last week, so it looks like he's been available for the last couple of weeks, but it's been the Cutter Boley show so far. And, who is Cutter Boley? Well, if you look at just some of the box score stats and kind of what he's done compared to what Joey Aguilar's done. Joey Aguilar currently is number 2 in the SEC in attempts, or number 2 in completions, I should say. Joey Aguilar is leading the Southeastern Conference, 1,908 yards. That is slightly more, 17 yards more than that of Ty Simpson from Alabama at 1,931. Joey Aguilar is leading the conference in passing yards. Okay, he is he's tied for 3rd, so Pavia with 15 passing touchdowns so far in this season right now. So that's kind of where he stacks up in terms of the passing yards, or passing touchdowns, I should say. And when you look at the interceptions, of course, we know that the interceptions, he's up there at 6 right now. He's tied for 3rd most in the league, but of course, DJ Lagway is number 1 with 9. Bo Perpula is number 2 at 7. And then John McKee has 6. Joey Aguilar has 6. And then Taylor Green, Blake Shapen, Garrett Nussmeier, and Arch Manning each have 5 interceptions apiece. So kind of log jam there. But you go back to touchdowns, and Cutter Boley is ranked, let's see here. Gosh, in the Southeastern Conference, Cutter Boley is ranked 16th in the league with 4 passing touchdowns. He also has 4 interceptions as well. So those are some of the box score stats. You look at the quarterback ratings. Joey Aguilar has the 7th highest quarterback rating in the conference at 151.2. Cutter Boley is at number 15 at 128.9. And Zach Calzada rounds out the top 20 quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference. And, of course, some of these are backups and guys who just, played sparingly. Injury, 0.5. I mentioned Zach Calzada in this, who has 1 passing touchdown, no passing touchdowns and 1 interception on the year, 47.2% completion. He's only, Calzada's 25 of 53 on the year. Again, he's only played in about parts of 2 games so far this year because of injury. But I do want to mention him because, when you're Kentucky and you're 2-4 and 0-4 in SEC play, if available, enter this game, depending on how the game goes for Kentucky, maybe. So we need to be prepared for him as well. Let's look at the Pro Football Focus, some of the passing depths. Pass yards or more down the field, deep shots, if you will. We know Joey Aguilar has been very successful in that regard. His completion percentage has gone down a little bit in recent weeks. He was 0 for 3 in that category at Alabama, but still very successful, especially when you compare it to Cutter Boley. 14 of 30 on the year, of passes 20 or more down the field, 46.7 completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he has 547 yards. 547 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's completed 14 of 30 on the year. He's got a Pro Football Focus grade in this category of 92.2. You look at Cutter Boley, however, the deep passing's just not been a thing for Kentucky. And again, the passing numbers have not been good overall, but deep passing for Cutter Boley in Kentucky, not been great. Boley's completed only 3 passes of 20 yards or more down the field in 23 attempts. He has 3 of 23 with the deep ball, 89 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. That Pro Football Focus grade is 36. 36 on the deep ball. So clearly Cutter Boley, and again, this is not a passing attack that is very good, ranks towards the bottom of the SEC, right? But the deep shots have been non-existent for Kentucky this year. at least when Cutter Boley is in the football game. His passes intermediate, 10 to 19 yards. He's 14 of 23, 258 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. Look at what Joey Aguilar has done in the intermediate game, 10 to 19 yards. He is 35 of 55, all right? 544 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So clearly advantage Joey Aguilar in that regard as well. Short game, passing yards 10 yards or below, or 9 yards or below, 0 to 9 yards. Cutter Boley is 35 of 46, completing 76% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So clearly he is much more accurate in the short game, within 10 yards or so. Look at what Joey Aguilar is in that regard, 65 of 94, 69.1% completion, 1 touchdown, 4 interception. That's where Joey Aguilar's game has not been as crisp, has not been as sharp, is in the short passing game. He has way more attempts, of course, than Cutter Boley, but 4 interceptions, 1 touchdown for Joey Aguilar in this realm, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions for Cutter Boley in this demographic here. And then behind the line of scrimmage, Cutter Boley is 26 of 27, completing 96% of his passes, 198 yards. Joey Aguilar is 32 of 39, that's 82%, 254 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. So both those guys have really good numbers there, behind the line of scrimmage. You want to look at how they are under pressure. Joey Aguilar has been kept clean on 76% of his dropbacks this year. He has got 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 1,581 yards in that regard. When he's under pressure, Joey Aguilar is 49 of 59. 46% of his passes have been completed, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. When he is not blitzed, Joey Aguilar is completing 67% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When he is blitzed, he's thrown 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 853 yards. So you compare that to Cutter Boley. Cutter Boley is, when he's kept clean, he's completing 67% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. When he's under pressure, it goes really, really bad. He's 11 of 25, 44%, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. When he is blitzed, Cutter Boley, 61% completion, 29 of 47, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. When he is not blitzed, he's 49 of 78, 62%, 489, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. So, again, just some stuff. So, diving into the weeds here a little bit. Cutter Boley, not good with the deep ball. Cutter Boley, very good in the short range, 10 yards or below. But, Joey Aguilar, I think the only advantage that Boley has over Aguilar in terms of the passing tree is the short passes within 10 yards. But outside of that, I think it's advantage Joey Aguilar, really all the way. So, what does Josh Ward have to think about this matchup? Tennessee and Kentucky, what Josh Ward thinks about Tennessee's loss to Alabama on the 3rd Saturday in October, and what Tennessee needs to do the rest of the way. Also, basketball exhibition against Duke coming up on Sunday. We'll talk with Josh Ward, Ward Wednesday, when we come back right here on your Wednesday Locked On Vols. College football is so back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can sometimes feel like more than the game itself, a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. The easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app makes it super simple. I could even see my exact views from the seat before purchasing those seats. It's not just for sporting events as well. It could be a comedy show, could be a concert, whatever event is happening in your area. Chances are you can buy tickets to said event on the Game Time app. They got the most flexible, the best customer service policy in all the ticketing industry. They are here again to give the advantage back to the fans. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that promo code is LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Game Time today. Josh Ward, Ward Wednesday. Tennessee, obviously a loss on the road to Alabama, disappointing 37-20 that final score. 5-2 now on the season, 2-2 in SEC play. Quick, we'll do a little bow tie on that football game in Alabama. Overall thoughts on Tennessee's play, Tennessee's loss, and what this means moving forward.
Well, moving forward, it means there's no margin for error. Tennessee cannot think, hey, if we drop another game, we can still make the playoff. There's a scenario where that could happen. I wouldn't bet on that scenario. I would bet on Tennessee needing to win out to get to the college football playoff. And if that happens, it will have been a terrific regular season. So what needs to happen? Tennessee needs to clean up mistakes that now we've been talking about for a few weeks. And it goes beyond penalties, which we've been talking about a few years. It's Tennessee getting in its own way at times. That possession after the turnover at midfield for Tennessee against Alabama was a total disaster and a blown opportunity where, despite what happened at the end of the first half, Tennessee could have made it a one-score game with plenty of football to be played. And instead, Tennessee's offense botched the possession, and then Tennessee's defense allowed Alabama to go 99 yards. And at that point, it felt like it was over. It essentially was. So things like that can't continue. The missed tackles. Now, I do wonder how much of what we've talked about the last few weeks and are still talking about with 5 games to go can really be fixed. Or is that what this team is? That's the concern, that this is what Tennessee is, that it's a team that's going to continue to make mistakes. And if that happens, there's a very good chance it costs Tennessee at least one more game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think Joey Aguilar played very well. I think that he was hurting as the game went along, obviously, and he toughed it out. I think he put the ball in, harm's way a couple of times. I'm not even talking about the interception. The interception was just a bad throw. I mean, it was just a bad throw. You got to throw it to the outside. Can't throw it to the inside. We know what happened. But I also think it's really disappointing because, again, Tennessee responded exactly how it needed to. 3 and out, coming out of the break, got the football back, scored a touchdown, came out, got a turnover, and then just couldn't do anything with it. So I think that is the most, as you pointed out, I think that is the most disappointing part of this football game because, man, when you saw a 14-point swing go against you and you're down 23-7 and the most humiliating and horrible way to end the first half, you come out and respond like that, a chance to, get right back in this game, and you really just couldn't.
Yeah, that's how you get it back because we've talked about the turnover margin and how to make up the difference, and Tennessee gave up the points. I mean, it's a 10 to 14-point swing with the pick 6 at the end. But if Tennessee had capitalized and gotten points off the turnover in midfield, that doesn't even everything back out, but it helps make that difference back up. And Tennessee gave that chance up. So I thought Tennessee could have matched up over 4 quarters well with Alabama. If the game's in Knoxville, it could have gone a different way. But the game was on the road, and that's part of the frustration as well. Is that, yeah, it's tough to go win at Tuscaloosa, but if you're a really good team and you do things the right way and you play disciplined football and you avoid mistakes that you create for yourself, then you give yourself a chance to win that game on the road. Athens is a tough place to play, but Bama went there and won a few weeks ago. That's what the teams that are trying to win a championship go do. And Tennessee continues to fall short in that part of the conversation. That's part of the frustration as well, that Josh Heupel, his Monday press conference, is talking about the details. And I think a common fan response now is, well, it's your job to make sure those details are figured out and that they are taken care of on Saturdays. And that's why Tennessee needs to turn around, take care of business this week, and then show that it can make those changes against Oklahoma, against Florida, and against Vanderbilt to close out the season.
Look at Kentucky this week. Obviously, if you're going to run the table and try to have a shot at the college football playoff, I love saying this. I keep saying this all week long. People are probably already annoyed, even more with me. Can't be 10-2 unless you're 6-2, so got to focus on Kentucky. An offense that is so very underwhelming. The passing game has not been great. Started Zach Calzada, gets hurt. It's been Cutter Boley since, even though I think Calzada's been available. Cutter Boley's not been that impressive. 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. No threat down the field passing. A chance for Tennessee's defense to maybe go out there and do some things. They have a run game that's pretty respectable. But overall, it's a team that did push Texas to the brink. I don't think Texas is very good. It was I wouldn't say they were ever going to knock off Ole Miss, but it was probably more of an uncomfortable win for Ole Miss, a couple of weeks ago. But it's a team that's not very good that Tennessee should go out there and honestly win by a couple of scores on the road. That's what this game needs to be for Tennessee, and that's what this game should be for Tennessee.
Yeah, it should be, because Tennessee has played a couple of games where it should have had better results and still got the win, but it was close. Mississippi State on the road. Tennessee made these mistakes. I don't need to go back over those, but that's a game where Tennessee should have been able to win in regulation, not needing overtime to win the game, and actually rally in the fourth quarter to force overtime in one way. And then Arkansas, Tennessee had a chance to win that one big and show, okay, we can actually put a team away. And instead, Tennessee had to hold on at the end. If you play another one of those type of games and you allow Kentucky to be in it in the fourth quarter, then anything can happen. I agree with you. I don't think Texas is a very good team, but it is a talented team. And I'm sure Kentucky, if the players are still dialed in, and to this point they have been, they can come out of that saying, well, it's a disappointing loss to Texas, but we just took Texas to overtime. They can turn on film and see issues that Tennessee has had and think, let's go exploit that. Kentucky's offense has been disappointing, but if they are able to go out there and find a few opportunities in the red zone, they might think, well, this is our chance to convert. If Tennessee allows that to happen, anything can happen. So Tennessee's not a 28-point favorite. It's a 8, 9, 10-point favorite going into this game for a reason. So I'm with you. I think Tennessee should go out and win this game by multiple scores. But I also thought Tennessee should beat Arkansas by multiple scores at home. Not saying they're the same teams, but we know the result there. That's why Tennessee needs to fix some of these issues, handle Kentucky, and then get ready for a huge home game the following week against OU.
Josh, how many openings in the Southeastern Conference is there going to be this year? Already 2. Arkansas and Florida made the move this past weekend after beating Mississippi State, but that was a year in the making, essentially. So there's 2 open right now. Could we see Kentucky make a move at some point? Could we see Auburn make a move at some point? I think Jeff Levy's a good coach. I do. If he goes 0-8 for the second straight year in the SEC, I mean, is State going to make a move? LSU's very underwhelming, it feels like, at least offensively, right? And had that second loss of the year to Vanderbilt this past weekend. How many jobs could be open in the Southeastern Conference by December?
I think there's a good chance for at least 4, and we could go up to 5 or 6, and that wouldn't surprise me at all because there could be a domino effect. Lane Kiffin's name will be mentioned with at least the Florida job. If LSU were to come open, Lane's name would be mentioned with that one. I suppose Auburn, if Hugh Freeze is out, but Lane was mentioned there a few years ago. He obviously didn't go there, so would that come up again? I'm sure it would be mentioned. But, yeah, we've got the 2. I would say there's a good chance that this can be it for Mark Stoops. I think this has to be it for Hugh Freeze because I know they've had some unfortunate circumstances. He's done a terrible job with that offense, and he continues to say that they're close. But close to what? They're not close to championship contention in the SEC. They're close to getting a win, and that's not going to cut it down there on the Plains. And then if LSU loses one more game, if they lose multiple games remaining and they're far from the playoff, I have a hard time believing that fan base is going to say, we'll go through another offseason with this speculation and the pressure and all that is surrounding Brian Kelly, because they went through that last year. And it's just, I don't think it's, the word fit is used. I think it's correct that it's a bad fit, but I'm not sure it's a comfortable relationship between those two sides. So I would say we see at least a couple of openings that are added to the list. And if Lane were to leave Ole Miss, then it wouldn't surprise me at all to see it get to 5 or 6 in the SEC.
Should get pretty interesting, always is in the Southeastern Conference. Out the door, though, let's talk a little basketball. Exhibition time in Tennessee. You have the Vols and Duke playing at the Food City Center on Sunday night. That should be exciting, right? Again, it's a game that doesn't count, but it's it's a blue blood, Duke Blue Devils, and then it's, Tennessee under Rick Barnes has been as good as anybody in the country. A chance for fans to see, this new crop of players. There was a closed-door scrimmage against Ohio State last weekend, but first time Tennessee can see Nate Ament and, in action, and, some of these, Jacoby Gillespie and Jalen Carey in a Tennessee uniform. It should be fun.
Yeah, it should. And it's a big name, as you mentioned, coming in with Duke, and it's a new team for Tennessee fans to check out, and that should create excitement. I think Tennessee has a chance to be a really good team, and it'll probably take some time for everything to come together because of the new pieces, but it might happen pretty quickly. I'll remind everyone that the Indiana game last year was not the best showing for Tennessee. Chaz Lanier had a tough outing for Tennessee in that exhibition game against Indiana, and Tennessee was a much better team than it showed that day, where you can use this game to work on different lineup rotations and things like that as it's early in the season. You're taking on a really good team, and there's no risk in terms of this affecting your record or your resume or anything like that. But it's a chance for fans to see, I think, some really good players. Nate Ament, who could be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. Jacoby Gillespie, who I think could be a first-team All-SEC player this season. He's going to be really good, I think, for Tennessee. So that plus a front court that is reloaded and deeper this upcoming season. There are a lot of really good pieces. They're going to play good defense. I'm confident there under Rick Barnes. And if they can shoot consistently, one game is not going to tell us if they can shoot consistently, but it could show us the potential there. This team could be really good could be an SEC title contender and could once again be one of the highest seeded teams with a chance to make a run at a Final Four as they're still trying to get there.
Josh Ward, you can listen to him and VFL Jason Swain on Josh and Swain every single weekday from noon to 3 on the Sports Animal. Josh, as always, man, thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, that is Josh Ward. We do it every single weekday, or every single Wednesday, I should say, right here on Locked On Vols. Been a fun show, been a busy week. We'll continue to break down and preview everything Tennessee and Kentucky related. We'll continue to break down everything Tennessee football as it continues to try to push for a college football playoff spot, but got to rattle off some wins here. All that and more. We'll hope to cross over at some point this week with Locked On Kentucky. No better place to get set for Tennessee and Kentucky than right here on Locked On Vols. Everydayers, thanks so much for being here. If you're new to the show, hope you enjoyed it. Come back tomorrow. We'll call you an everydayer. This is Locked On Vols.